Hello all, my name is Dr. Fields, and we just wanted to put together a presentation to highlight what our expectations are for the social work in child welfare and schools presentation that is due for Social Work 170. And so as we look at this assignment description, we're going to take some time and walk through this. But this assignment is focused on two different areas and job types of social workers. Number one, we've got child welfare, and this may be a social worker that works in foster care, adoptions, or child protective services. And the focus here will be on the child, their family, how the community might impact the child. And it's really focused on the child outside of the school system. Whereas a school social worker would be focused on everything related to the child within the school system. And so, and in the school system, you've got their friends, you've got teachers, you've got families are involved, and any other things that have to come into play in regards to the school. Sometimes children might have IEPs and different things like that. And so again, child welfare is focused on social work practice with children outside of the school, whereas school-based social work is focused on working with children within the school system. And so the purpose of this assignment is to have the ability to better advocate for children. And so essentially we're taking a look at two different areas of life where children are predominantly that they're predominantly impacted by. They're impacted by life outside of school and life inside school. And so this is what we want to focus on. That's the purpose, to really investigate how we advocate for children. So you also want to think about how the goal of this assignment is also to address problems that children experience within their school system and within the family system. Keeping in mind that children are predominantly impacted by their schools and predominantly impacted by their families. And so as we think a little bit deeper about the actual PowerPoint presentation, we want you all to put together a quality product. So we want you to pretend like you're actually going to do this presentation in front of an audience. So you're going to have a title page and references, but those two pages do not count for the total amount of slides that you need to have. For the presentation itself, you need to have between 10 and 12 slides. So, you know, give and take, if your presentation, the meat of it is 10 slides, you'll have another two, one being a title page and a reference. If you need a little bit more space, you can have your primary PowerPoint presentation as 12 slides, and then you can add on your title page and references, which would then make it 14 slides. But again, the title page and the reference does not count for the total amount of slides. And so as we look further at this PowerPoint slide right here, step one is going to be for you to identify 2 to 3 problems in a school in the area where you live. And you're going to explain how social workers might work to address those problems. Again, this is focused on problems in your area. So hopefully you'll have the ability to have a lot of information about that. Step two, you want to provide details regarding how the child welfare services in the United States works to help families by addressing 3 key components listed below. So how do child welfare services help children to access resources? And when we talk about children, we're also more than likely talking about the family too. So just keep that in mind as well. Again, getting back to these 3 components, how will the child welfare system help the child to access services needed in their school. And the last piece of this is how does the child welfare services help social workers access, sorry, how does the child welfare services help children to access social work advocacy? So we want to keep that in mind as you continue to think about this assignment, but also put together your slides as well. And if you ever get to a point where you have a question, feel free to ask your professor because we rather wrestle with that question with you and help you to work through it than get an assignment turned in and your question wasn't asked and you turned something in that didn't really accomplish the intent of the presentation. So with that being said, ask as many questions as you need in order to get clarification because we want you guys to do really well on this assignment. So as we continue on, you also are going to have the opportunity to really focus on self-reflection and self-awareness in this assignment. Considering that we are focused on the general practice model, you're going to want to discuss how you might engage in self-reflection when you're working with children and schools. And also, how do you assess your self-awareness of your ability to work with children in schools? You want to talk about that as well in your slides. And then the last primary piece is that you're going to want to research child welfare programs in your region and discuss how they might help children and families. Again, when we talk about children, we're also talking about families because it is a unit. And oftentimes that family is there to hopefully help to support that child. And sometimes the family relationships help us to understand what might be happening with that child that might be adverse or negative. So keep that in mind. Also, for this assignment, you want to refer to creating effective PowerPoint presentations. That will be key. We want these PowerPoint presentations to be a good design. We want them to be colorful and vibrant. Again, when you are writing your PowerPoint slides out, they probably won't look like what you see on the screen because this is considered a little wordy. When you are writing complete sentences, that information will go in your notes section. But for your slides, you want to have phrases, very short sentences where you're highlighting the key points. Keep in mind that your PowerPoint slide should be designed for your audience to keep the audience's attention. If you are writing a lot of information in your slides, that's more so for us as the presenter. And so that information should go into your notes section. So to just kind of provide like an overview of what it should look like, your slides should be a good design. Some slides should have imagery. Again, phrases, short sentences, key points on your slide. And then in your notes section, you can put everything that you would want to say if you were having a conversation with someone about the slide. So in your notes section, that is where you will write incomplete sentences, APA formatting, and all that good stuff. Also, when you use references, you want to put the actual in-text citation on the slide as well. That way, everyone knows what information belongs to you and what information you have gotten from someone else, because we want to make sure that credit goes where credit is due. APA style is not required on the actual PowerPoint slides because, again, more often than not, you will not be writing incomplete sentences. You're only touching on key points, but you should continue APA style when you write your notes. So that's where we want to see complete sentences and good grammar. We want good grammar in the slides too, because that's important. Because again, we want to pretend like we're presenting this to an audience of people. Also, you want to have documentation of the sources that you are using in this assignment. And you're going to have a reference page as well, like I discussed a little bit earlier. So you want to make sure that that is here, and it's very similar to how you might do a reference page in a normal assignment. You'll have references at the top, and then you'll have all your complete references right below that. Also, before you submit this assignment, even before you start working on the assignment, I highly recommend that you look at the rubric so you can see how you'll be graded, and then that can help you to lay out what you're going to do on this assignment. And again, looking at the bottom, you have to submit this assignment through Lopes Write. We cannot accept it via email. So again, submit it through Lopes Write. And just to conclude, I want to highlight how this assignment covers various standards. It is focused on diversity and difference in practice. It's focused on policy and practice. Also, how you might engage, assess, and intervene with individuals, families, groups, organizations, and communities. Because keep in mind that when you're working with children in child welfare and in the school system, you'll be working with individuals, families, possibly groups, definitely organizations, and probably communities. So again, if you have any questions about this assignment, feel free to reach out to your professor. That way you can get your questions answered and you can put together a good quality presentation, because again, the goal is to do well and to learn as much as you can through this assignment. Thank you for taking the time to review this presentation. I wish you well. Take care. God bless.